My name is Nicole DeBlois, and this is my presentation for the online English class. All right, so my claim was regarding fixing discrimination in the workplace. So the problem. Every individual has various qualities that make up their identity, both physical and mental, whether this be their height, whether it be their race, whether it be their sexual identity, their gender identity, what they really, who they define as. These different disabilities or such mental disabilities, these make up who you are, the things that make you unique. These qualities that we celebrate at the same time can be used in a negative way. They can be attributed to different various ways that people find themselves being discriminated upon. This issue is not something new, and it dates all the way back to the beginning of the country itself. So, what is discrimination? I talk about it in a really negative way as something that needs to be changed, but it's kind of hard to fully grasp the concept of it if you don't know a full definition. When I was researching fine law, they stated that the unlawful discrimination refers to unfair or unequal treatment of an individual or group based on certain characteristics. Different characteristics could be the mental and physical ones that I talked about previously. So, what are the different types of discrimination? Well, the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission, they actually identified some of them as ones that need to be protected by the law, and they were protected by the law, but they're not always going to be perfect. These are the ones that they should be protected, but people often find themselves being discriminated upon. The first one, age. This could be whether you're young. Maybe you're 16 years old and you're a genius. But being 16, people might not take you as seriously as they should be, even though age really has no correlation with your work ethic. Maybe older employees could kind of look at you and write you off. But this could also go vice versa, and maybe your employer looks to kind of look for younger employees. They want to replace the older ones with these younger people who are coming in. And this can be just as hard as on the older population as well as the younger population. Parental status, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids. Disability, I kind of talked a little about this a little bit earlier. Oftentimes it can be mental disability, but it could also be physical disability. Maybe you're paralyzed, maybe you got in a car crash and you're in a wheelchair. Employment activity. Maybe you took a year off, your mental health, it just wasn't the best, and you really took some time to get your life together. In the eyes of some employers, they might write that off. They might think, well, I can't give them this job because of that. But in reality, that has no correlation with your work ethic, the things that you've been studying, the things that you've learned, your intelligence. Industrial activity, gender identity, sexual orientation. Gender identity, whether you identify as a woman or you identify as a man. Sexual orientation, who you really like. Marital status, maybe you have a husband, maybe you don't. Physical features, this could go both ways as kind of age does. Maybe you are a very good looking person. Maybe you know some very good looking people. Maybe they get jobs that they don't truly deserve because of this, but could also go the other way, as in maybe someone that doesn't have the best smile and they're constantly not getting these jobs that they fully deserve because of this. Political belief, pregnancy, race, religious belief, sex. But also, I'm naming a lot of things that you can find yourself discriminated upon. But not only can you find yourself being discriminated upon for your own beliefs, but being associated with people's beliefs such as these. Maybe you have a gay friend that you support and your employer doesn't agree, and they don't want to give you jobs that you fully deserve just because you are associated with that. I have a visual right here. It kind of talks about how many people and how many cases are being filed in the fiscal year of 2017. There were 84,254. That is insane. Discrimination will never fully be halted, unfortunately, but 84,000 is way too high. Not only is resulting in all these different distress on these different employees, but it's financially costing them. It's financially costing the companies. So even if you don't want to look at it in the way, well, their mental health, the things that they're kind of going to carry with them for the rest of their life, it's going to be affecting them financially as well. So what has been done? There's been some things that have been tried to set in place. The EEOC, which I kind of mentioned earlier on in the previous image, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they were founded. According to their website, they define themselves as being responsible for enforcing federal laws that make it illegal to discriminate against a job or applicant or an employee. So kind of just try to step up and make sure that you're not being discriminated upon for the different categories that I listed previously. So my proposition, I have a 3-step solution that could lead to a major decline in discrimination in the workplace. First step. Step 1, implementing a system that holds managers as well as employees responsible. So discrimination will never fully be gone, but it is important to hold these managers responsible, kind of make them explicitly state what they want. But not only are they need to state these rules of what they want, they also need to hire a diverse team to kind of foster this diversity. You can't have this kind of very efficient environment that we're really aiming for if, at the end of the day that your team is not diverse. You don't bring these different ideas to the table. Step 2, making sure to check in the overall satisfaction from employees regarding diversity in the company. Make sure your employees are happy. According to research conducted by the Level Playing Field Institute, 6.3 said fairness was the only reason they left their employee, and they selected 10 on the scale. That's a lot. That's the sole reason they left, because they felt less than. Employers may be making them feel less than. That's a big deal. Maybe you kind of want to look in this and you want to do this in surveys. Maybe every month you send out a survey and maybe like suggesting ideas that, the employers could really kind of follow and implement in the company to make sure that they are happy and there's not as much job turnover. Step 3, lastly, after the employers as well as employees have both been held accountable, a human resources team can be set in place. Having this team is really just kind of to serve as a checks and balances, just as we have in our own government. Make sure that the rules are being followed. There's a diverse team, but it's also important to make sure that the pay is equal, but the human resources team can also check that. So make the change. Doing nothing is not an option. Todd Smith from The Little Things Matter says discrimination is dehumanizing. When you treat someone differently solely based on race or gender or age, you deny the value of who they are as an individual. Imagine your child being discriminated upon because of their blue eyes or their brown hair or their race or who they love or who they identify as. This is not something that should be happening. It has no correlation on one's work ethic, one's intelligence. So it's insane to think something so small as that, and some things even that you think might be so silly really does happen. So how possible? They state that they lose a lot of money. All these different cases that happen, there's a lot of money being lost. Logistically thinking about human resources team, they could save money because you're not losing that when you have all these different cases. And it would not cost money to hire a human resources team unless you previously did not have one. This is my citations, and thank you so much for listening.